We have atrociously lost the plot when it comes to the topic of manifestation. And it's so bad. I think people are at the point where they not only don't believe in it anymore, but they're repulsed by it and they actively scroll away whenever the topic comes up. And I too am so sick of seeing the bullshit videos that is like, oh, manifest 10K in 30 days or attract your soulmate with these affirmations that are completely misleading and not based on anything realistic. So, in an effort to combat that, I'm going to present to you what I probably would call a think piece on my own interpretation and experiences with manifestation. My goal with this is to change your perspective on what it is and how it works, and to empower you with the knowledge that manifestation is, in fact, real, but probably not in the way that you've seen it explained or heard about it before. And in my opinion, there's no one way fits all, and there's not a step by step guide or a how to on the specifics of manifestation. There's not a brick by brick framework that is going to take you from point A to point B. It's so much more involved than that, even though so much content out there on the internet you'll see contradicts that. The hill I will die on is that manifestation relies on your belief systems and your self concept and the embodiment of those through thoughts and actions. I'm going to be talking about that a lot in a lot of my videos because I believe that is the core concept that self improvement and motivational content boils down to. In order to see real change on the outside, you have to change yourself on a fundamental level on the inside. So, in broader terms, you are the creator of your own reality, and you are creating your own reality through your belief systems, your opinion of self, and your embodiment of those beliefs and self concept. I'll expand on this statement further, and just a fair warning, it will probably get a little spiritual and woo woo, but I promise I will ground these concepts into reality in a way that you can understand if you're not all for the woo woo kind of spiritual stuff. But in my opinion, truthfully, I believe they are interconnected. They are one and the same. There have been key moments in your life, most of which you probably don't remember because they happen in early childhood, that define your programming. And by programming, what I mean is the way you perceive and define yourself and the world around you. If you're getting a certain result in your life, for example, you don't have a lot of money, you have to trace that result back to its belief system. This can be really difficult to do because identifying those belief systems can require therapy, deep reflection, revisiting painful memories, etc. Do you believe that money is hard to make? Do you believe money's evil? Do you feel like wanting wealth is selfish? There could have been one of your parents growing up that struggled to pay a bill and you saw that and took that in before you even understood what that meant. And boom, now your association with money is one that's stressful. When you hold a certain belief, God, the universe, however you want to call it, is going to send you evidence of that belief system. If you grew up and somehow learned about lack of wealth, the universe is going to send you situations that validate that belief. It's going to reflect it to you. I know this sounds woo woo already, but to ground it in neuroscience, our brains have something called a reticular activating system. And what that does is act like a filter to basically anything that we believe or that we're focusing on. So there's that red car theory I've mentioned in a few of my previous videos. If you think about red cars, you're going to see more red cars on the road. If you're thinking about lack, you're going to see more lack. Once you identify your belief system associated with having a lack of wealth, you have to challenge and then deconstruct that belief system. And again, that could be really difficult to do, and it does not happen overnight. But that's where the manifestation techniques come in that we see all the time, like affirmations, meditation, and journaling, because when done correctly, their purpose is to actually help rewire our programming and our belief systems. So instead of identifying with that lack of wealth, we start to tell ourselves that we identify with having abundance. This is also going to be pretty woo woo and spiritual, but another layer to understanding manifestation is to understand that on a fundamental level, God, energy, source, universe, however you want to call it, is everything. You are connected to everything in creation because you are creation. We are not separate from each other, from the earth, the sun, the stars. We are not separate from our desires. Everything that exists is ours because we are it. To relate to those of you who might be less woo woo and have more of a structured religion background, I grew up Catholic and I went to CCD, which is like our Bible study slash religion school for those who don't know. And there we learned that God, or in other words, universe, source, energy, is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, meaning he is all knowing, all powerful, and present everywhere at the same time. He is all of those things because he is everything. He is all of creation and existence. And if he's all of creation and existence, that means that he is us, which also means that we are him. We all possess God or source energy within us. And whether we realize it or not, we are actually co creating our life with everyone and everything around us. I know that concept probably sounds insane, so I am going to ground it with an example of something that I manifested recently in my own life, and that is the job that I currently have. So, about 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted a work from home 6 figure corporate job because to me, that represented stability and comfortability. Not necessarily luxury, but in my head, it was enough that I'd be able to afford a really nice apartment, live by myself, and be able to travel and treat myself without feeling like I'm living above my means. So I declared to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, that that was my goal. And by that, I mean, I just made a statement and let my desire be known very much so in my head and in my heart. So, fast forward to this past summer, summer 2025, I hear of an opportunity of a bank hiring that I actually previously worked for a while for the same role that I do now, but a much more senior level. So, a lot more experience with much better pay and a much better work environment. So, naturally, I jumped on it. And when I tell you, I leveraged all of my resources. I was reaching out to people on LinkedIn. I was texting old friends and old coworkers, even coworkers at my current role. I was having them leverage their connections to get connected with me. I wanted this job so bad. I said, this is the job for me. I know what it's like to work at this place. I knew I fit in with the culture. The salary is what I wanted. This is my opportunity. So while I was doing all of these things, I was hyper fixated on when I was going to hear back. And I didn't. And months started to go by. So I started almost crashing out. Like, why am I not hearing anything back? I have so many people who have put in a word for me. I have applied to 20 jobs. I don't understand what's going on. So from there, I took a step back and I tried to rely on all of the time, money, and tears spent invested in spiritual coaching and self improvement. And I knew then and there I was not embodying the person who already had that job. I was acting like a person who was completely separate from that job because by waiting so long and so hard and focusing on not receiving that call back, I was separating myself from having that because somebody who already has that job is not waiting for a call, they're already in it. So I completely shifted gears. I stopped checking my email 20 times a day and I stopped having a heart attack every time my phone rang when it was a spam call because I thought the bank was going to call me for an interview finally. And I started focusing on and acting like somebody who already had the job in the present moment. So what did I do to embody that? I actually went to Shein, and I know Shein sucks. It was just budget friendly at the time. And I upgraded my work wardrobe because my prior job, I was going into the office every day, and how I showed up there definitely mattered. And when I started dressing better and looking cuter, everybody complimented me. Everybody started to notice me. I started getting put on extra projects, and not because I was dressing better, even though that's probably was a small part, but because I was just showing up so much more confident and assured in my work. I was going the extra mile because that's what I would do to impress people I was working with in my supposed new role. If I'm operating at a high level and I'm making a lot of money to reflect that, I'm going to show up differently than the way I was showing up to my previous job. Not to say that I wasn't always an asset because I always was, but I really, really stepped it up a notch and was proving myself and giving it my all. And it's important to mention throughout this process, my faith remained unwavering. There was never a point where I felt like I was faking it to make it or I wasn't being authentic with myself and how I was acting. I truly believed that I was this person. I was embodying this person because I was the person who had the job that I wanted. And finally, one day, it wound up paying off. And for the ease of the story, I'm going to call my old employer Bank A and the employer that I work for now Bank B, just so you can keep track because I don't want to give away where I work, but I also want you to follow the story. And every time I say a coincidence, I don't really mean to say a coincidence. I believe in my heart that those circumstances came to light because this is something that I created for myself. So, coincidentally, I wind up running into a girl that I worked with at Bank B previously and at Bank A. So we're at Bank A and we're in the cafeteria. And she winds up telling me that she's actually accepted a role and has her 2 week notice in to go back to working for Bank B, where I'm trying to go. And I told her that I've been trying to get back into Bank B for months and months now, and I haven't heard anything back. And she offered to reconnect me with somebody that we both used to work with on LinkedIn and give my resume to, because he actually also had experience in that department. So I reach out to him via LinkedIn, send my resume, and I wound up getting a call for an interview. And they liked me and they gave me a job offer. And the offer was the salary that I wanted. And the offer wound up being remote, which I was not expecting because the Bank B is also sending their employees back to the office. But the team that I'm joining exclusively with some others are remaining remote for the time being. And I don't believe that was a coincidence. I believe all of that matched up because it was the circumstances that I was creating for myself in my manifestation. There were also other little coincidences that were quote unquote too good to be true, but in my opinion, proof that this was a result of my manifestation and not just something that I applied to and got lucky for. And that's because my old role gave me an annual bonus, and it was only to be paid out if you were actively employed on the day of the payout without having an active 2 week notice in with HR. So even if you worked the whole entire 12 months, if you left the bank the day before, you were not getting that money. So I got the job offer the day after I got paid out my bonus from my old job. So I got to receive that money for the whole year's worth of hard work, and immediately after move on to bigger and better things. Even though the job market is absolutely insane right now, and it may seem like a miracle to some to land a steady paying job in a time like this, I know to others it may seem like a very small example and not like this overnight huge manifestation miracle like other stories that they've heard. It's definitely rooted in a lot of logical factors, and looking back, that's what my belief system was strongly associated with and why I believe I was able to convince myself with such conviction that I was capable of having this opportunity. But it was a huge win for me in the way that I understand manifestation. And to reiterate, this took 7 months. This did not happen overnight. And I really had to practice integrating being that person who has my manifestation in the present moment, even though I have no evidence in the 3D or right in front of my own 2 eyes that it's actually happening. And now that I understand that concept and have successfully accomplished it, I can apply it to much bigger and better goals and see what kind of magic I can create for myself. Another reason why this manifestation was such a big lesson for me is because when I look back at previous jobs I applied to or other opportunities I had set myself up for that never came to pass was strictly because of my own self-beliefs and my self-concepts. Every time I applied for a high paying salary job or something out of my comfort zone, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe I had the qualifications. I didn't believe I was the right fit. And lo and behold, the opportunities never worked out. And I obviously have reiterated a bunch of times that this job opportunity that I had now, I believed in my core was for me. And also, a lot of those beliefs that I had were surrounded in quote unquote 3D evidence or tangible or intangible things in my life right now that I can look at and say, hey, this is a reason right in front of me why this opportunity is good for me. For example, already having a connection to that past bank or having friends and past coworkers who I'm still in contact with or having related experience, even if it's not to the level that they were saying they were looking for. And so, in that understanding, in that lesson, I realized that even though there may be no evidence that I can do something right now at this time, I have to completely change my self concept and my beliefs to become that person, to bridge the gap between who I am now and who I want to be. I have to do things differently, even if my current reality does not support that. So, for example, if I want to be an influencer, which I don't, by the way. This is not why I'm starting social media at all. I have to do, say, and be all these things that I have never been in the past. I never ever post on my personal socials. I'm so private. I know I don't like filming myself. I don't like being in front of a camera. And I have to change that in order to be somebody who makes a difference and who makes connections and community online. I have to get in front of a camera and get over my fear. and I have to do a whole bunch of other things and be extroverted and be comfortable being seen and being perceived that I never have in the past. That is going to get me closer to the person who has my manifestations, all while having no evidence in the 3D that this page or any kind of platform I'll be successful on. I just have to already act like I'm talking to a beautiful community of women. And by the time you're watching this video, I hope that you stick around and I do form a beautiful community of women. But I have to pretend that it's happening right now. And I have to believe it in my core so deep that it's happening right now. And I do. Manifestation is such a dynamic topic and it can be so confusing and complex. So I hope after this long-winded video that you took away something from it that you can apply to your own life. And most importantly, you feel so motivated and so capable of creating the change that you want to see for yourself. I have gone through a lot of years of spiritual coaching, life coaching, some therapy, a ton of personal development books, and personal development content in general. So take it from me as somebody who studies the subject like I get paid to, that manifestation is definitely real. It's possible. All you have to do is the inner work to change your life. As always, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. Have a great week. I'll see you in the next video.